All good. Hello there, my name's Card, and this will be my 10th go at live streaming. Today, I've got no script per se, and just some minimal notes, and before today I wasn't even necessarily planning on doing this off-the-cuff stream. However, if you saw my last stream, or my last semi-proper video, you'll know that I've been tentatively planning on taking something of a critical look at KiwiFarms and what it might be able to do for me from the inside for some time now. And once I made that video and made myself an account on that website, I was surprised by how much immediate feedback I got, both on YouTube and the website itself, and in my email address that's in the description of every video, and the vast majority of it seemed to be positive, or at the very least not explicitly negative, what there wasn't overtly positive. So today, I just want to make something of a stream, responding to the most immediate things people have said and commented and whatnot in relation to that turn of events, because I felt addressing it in some sort of video format, whether live or pre-recorded, would be much more efficient and effective than some sort of written response that might also have only a limited reach and visibility. But I ended up just thinking, I might as well do it live, this one, rather than try and script something and try and get it perfect and always be chasing, every day having new stuff come in. I'll just do this as like a one-off type thing, addressing some of the comments and whatnot people have sent me and messaged and left me and whatnot. So just to start with, I'll just I should have preempted saying all that. If you don't know what I mean by any of that, I recommend you watch the last live stream or last video. But hopefully the people who know what this is supposed to be and know what it will be will be on the ball here and understand what it is. And I'll make it clear after I put this recording up. I'll make it clear what it is. A little bit cold out tonight. Got bundled up, a couple layers, beanie, gloves. So I won't want to be out here, stay up, trying to do this too long. I won't make it longer than it needs to be. It'll just be as long as it needs to be, and it won't be any longer than it is. So hopefully we get through it. It could be 20 minutes, could be 30, could be 40, could be an hour or more, but hopefully it's only as long as it needs to be. So first thing I'll just get through. First thing I'll do this stream is I'll just go through sort of the main chunk of what I want to do here, and that's just take a look at some of the comments I've received with that KiwiFarms situation. Then after that, I'll give something of an update concerning my plans for the Jason Thor Hall situation, what my plans for that are, and a little bit of an evolution of my thought on plans for my YouTube page here in the meanwhile, until I get to that, which I think should be, the Jason Thor Hall video will take a bit of time, but I was sort of sketching this out mentally today. I think it'll take less time than I thought it would, when in my last video I said it'll take a while. So it'll still take a while, but it'll take less of a while than I thought it would be. Without further ado, I mentioned in that video that I last made, talking about going on KiwiFarms and how I'd been keeping my eye on a page there where they'd be talking about me. and I've been looking at that for a few months now. But the thing is, the extent of my looking at it would be I would check up on it for a few minutes at a time, like every once a week or once a fortnight even, which seemed to be frequent enough to see everything. As much as they seem to have some interest in me, it didn't seem to be like constant or even daily updates or anything. I just wanted to keep a cursory eye on it in case oh, I don't know. I didn't know what they might be doing. I thought I'll keep a cursory eye on it just in case they're planning malicious threats or something. But no, it seems like they're mostly just every once in a while they post a YouTube video of mine and say, hey, this is kind of neat. And that's about it. But I went on there. Since I did that video, or it would have been around about the same time I did that video, I made a comment there on that page concerning me myself. I just said, hello there, it's me. I'm signing up to use this website in some capacity. And I basically said I will explain why that is and prove that this is really me in the next video I upload. So I've done that now. Since I've done that, I guess it put a on the screen here where it displays usernames. It put a I guess someone the powers that be saw that and then put a little blue tick icon next to my name there, proving it's me. And now underneath my username it says a long-time progressive community organizer. I didn't write that. I guess they can put that on there for you. So that's interesting. Powers that be know about me, I guess, or maybe Joshua Moon did that himself. I don't really know the ins and outs of how this is run logistically. I'll have to learn that if I want to know more about the website. I'll have to figure out how to use it properly. Took me a while to figure out how to do a profile picture, and the first few times I tried, it didn't seem to upload right, but I eventually got there. I'll figure it out as I go along, hopefully. And I'll make an effort to if the website itself seems to be of note. So the first thing I want to do is basically just my thinking would be that well, with how slow this thread seemed to go, and I hitherto probably assumed all threads would have gone to some extent, but apparently that doesn't seem accurate. But since I made that one comment, it seems like everyone's interested now. Like overnight, the amount of people commenting is doubled, or if not more. But so I wanted to go through those, and because there's people asking questions and comments and whatnot, and I'll see if there's anything of note. I haven't looked at them all yet. I've just taken a look at some of them to see that that's what they're doing. They're asking questions. So I figured one of the things I wanted to do was just sort of go through those now. And address anything that anyone brings up that is of note. Directly after my comment, someone else posts or links the video I made. Next, someone else says hello. They say welcome. If anyone acts disparagingly towards me, just let them know so that this user can bully them. Thank you. Someone else asks, dear Card. Oh, accidentally clicked off. Need to reopen the page. Accidentally clicked the X. Someone else asks, dear Card, do you have the video that Pirate Software took down? May you post it? Sincerely, this next user. I will loop back to that in a moment. Next commenter asks, what is my professional opinion of this Rupert the cat? And then they posted a picture of a kitten. I don't know if this is a meme or a well-known cat, or if this is just your cat. The cat seems alright to me, but that is not my professional area of expertise. Thank you for sharing if it's just yours. Next commenter asks, why do I hoard computer monitors? This is something I get emailed maybe once a month. I don't collect computer monitors, and I don't collect any old electronics. I just so happen to have the ones I have, those ones. So I have to put them somewhere, and I'll hang on to them, but I'm not, I'll put them somewhere where they're all hooked up and they could work if I wanted them to work. They function, and sometimes I do use some of them and some of the stuff over there, and I'm not interested in like searching for more. I don't really think about it. I don't have any particular overt interest in old electronics outside of the ones I have and just happen to know how to use because I have them. I haven't like sought out more information about like 90s computers or anything. And I'm not like seeking more. I'm just not interested in getting rid of them or selling them. Um, it just is what it is. So that's something that I get emailed like once a month at least. Is why am I interested in old electronics? But I don't collect them. I just keep the ones I've already got. But thank you for asking. I hope that clarifies that for everyone who might ever want to ask in the future. Although I feel like it won't be. Next commenter says, "Welcome to the forum. You'll probably find the articles and happenings threads disagreeable, but there is an effort to expand topics of discussion beyond just internet nonsense. I quite enjoyed the video game soundtracks thread. I enjoy your content in that we may disagree politically on some things, but you're a great sport about everything." Thank you for saying I'm a good sport, and that you enjoy my content. I suppose next time I find some time free on the computer, I might try and learn the website. If there are non-internet nonsense pages that'd be good, I will endeavor to find something of value here. Next commenter asks, "Who is your favorite pony?" This is presumably be playing off the Josh Moon Colombo My Little Pony expose video I did. Well, I've never watched the show and have no opinions on it, and I think prior to making that video I could not have named any of the horses on the show, so I'm afraid I have no opinion, and in fact want to disparage you for even asking. Next commenter says, "Welcome. Remember, if anyone offers you a sonotube medallion, contact Josh and your local church representative to perform the appropriate administration so you will not be cursed." I used to follow the Chris Chan stuff. Just like, I don't know, I found out about it in high school and probably read some pages of whatever wiki was the one going around at the time, and then I watched the Geno Samuel series, or at least the first couple dozen parts of it. I was aware of the sort of in-joke about anyone who puts on the Chris Chan sonotube medallion is immediate forever bad luck. I think I either learnt that or unlocked whatever memory of that existed somewhere in my head around the time people were clowning on Mudahar, I think, for doing that. So yes, thank you. I get your reference. Next commenter says, "Looking forward to you and Noel sampling different brands of Deans, like an episode of Hot Ones." I don't think that'll ever happen. Please. Next commenter says, "Please let this card business turn into something funny." This isn't a comedy series, is it? So it won't. Next commenter says, "Be sure to ask Josh about cheese." When I was quickly going through this earlier, I saw a couple people mention cheese, I think, including in my YouTube comments. I figure it might be some sort of in-joke. I don't know. maybe towards the end of the video, I'll loop back around to the fact I also wanted to do something with KiwiFarms, because after I did the Josh Moon Colombo Brony video, I think he sent me an email saying something like, "Hey, do you want to arrange an interview?" And then I posted something on my community post tab saying, "I don't like is this real?" Like I said that I did the joke line, "Chat, is this real?" But also I was legitimately hoping someone could confirm or confirm in the negative that this was or was not really Josh Moon's email, because I don't know what it would be, but it turns out it was, and I recall checking that KiwiFarms page where they talk about me, where Josh Moon himself posted and said something like, "Yeah, that is me," and so once I checked that the next day, and then once I saw that, I thought, all right, I'll just message back saying something like, I'm a bit busy at the moment, but we can work out some times or something. And then I don't think he responded to that. And then about a week later, I think I sent another email just saying like, hey, just following up on this. Did you like forget? So he hasn't gotten back to me on that. Were some sort of interview to happen, I don't know what he would ask me, or I'd ask him, or vice versa, or what would happen. But at the moment, the ball's in his court, I guess, for figuring that out. Next commenter says, "Welcome to the place where human nature is laid bare. We have all kinds of people. If anyone offers you free firearms, they're a federal agent. If you are DM'd sexually explicit content, you're being groomed. If the moderation staff contacts you, you really fucked up. We don't agree on anything here, but I do hope you enjoy your stay." Yep. Don't. I've always said anyone explicitly telling you to do a crime is a fed. Anyone telling you to never do crimes is also a fed. Thank you for your input there. Then, next commenter says, "When are you going to fight Josh to the death and take over the website?" I don't think it'd happen. I wouldn't want to go find him and fight him to death, and I don't know if I could do it through sheer force of posting charisma from my home alone. So I don't think it'd happen. I don't think I'm going to usurp your website anytime soon. The next commenter says, "Has your opinion on Sneed's Feed and Seed changed at all?" No, it's still just a dumb 4chan meme that no one posts outside of 4chaners and people who have no sense of humor, but like picked up 4chan memes probably through like a secondhand reposting place of them, like Twitter or Reddit. It's not even a funny joke. As sight gags go, the actual gag in the show isn't super great, and just repeating it endlessly isn't funny. The one thing I will say is the amount of there are some people out there who have iterated on it in creative ways, but it's not a good meme. Next commenter says, "Null better hide the secret MLP board before card posting finds out." Sure. Next commenter just says, "I got your dog whistle right here, pal." I think that's the first. I was going to say the first one that's not even like overtly just a real question, but no, it's fine. Someone else here comments. I think in response to that Sneed's question, someone else asks. Someone else comments on that has my opinion changed question. "The Supreme Council of Accounts with Sneed-themed names eagerly awaits your answer." Well, I guess you got it like a minute ago. Next commenter says, "Hi Card, are you autistic or you just seem really strange?" Question mark. I've never been diagnosed with anything, and I don't even like believe in psychiatry, psychology, anything like that. There obviously are like a number of mental and intellectual conditions and impairments that exist and have are like you can visibly, intuitively know are real, but I'm not a big fan of the codification and classification of personalities and turning those into diagnosable conditions. With one exception, if you're seeking, like I don't believe in psychology, psychiatry, therapy, any of that stuff. I would not recommend anyone do it. I wouldn't do it myself. The one exception to that rule is if you doing that or getting a diagnosis is a step in your ploy to get state benefits for not being able to work or something. If you're getting a psychologist involved so that you can tell the government you need money for free, then I support you 100%. Godspeed. Get that bag. I'm not that strange in person, comparatively speaking. Plus, being on camera in this sort of format where one. I'm still relatively inexperienced for the extemporaneous talking thing compared to a lot of people, even people on YouTube. Two, speaking into a camera or speaking aloud with a camera in front of you is a lot different to speaking to a person because you have to carry the conversation entirely, and there's no interlocutor responding back directly. The closest I've ever gotten like this is reading a whole heap of comments like this right now, but that's nothing compared to a real conversation. Two, most of my content is free. Most of my content is fully scripted, which is again itself a lot more different cadence and tone and intonation to a real conversation. Along with being scripted, since my notes, my ersatz teleprompter is to the left of me and the camera directly ahead, so I look aside. That makes it look like I'm doing some sort of weird eye darting thing, which I'm not going to change just because people might be off put by it or think it's weird. But also that wouldn't happen in a real conversation with me. So, so that's another reason I wouldn't be weird if you saw me in real life. Another reason I would look more weird on camera is that, in real life, you're not sort of under pressure. You don't feel even, a little bit under pressure to like, oh, I must get this script completely right because if I make a mistake or a whoopsie, I would have to, restart the whole thing, do it again probably, so I get a, one clean long take. Whereas, that doesn't happen in real life. And another reason I might look weird and off-putting, especially recently, and especially when I started out, and any other time, I'm in like the cold 6 months of the year, is that it's just like cold out here at night. Because I film almost everything at night or in the wee hours of the early morning, where it's cold, like it is now. It's been like -2 degrees Celsius outside a lot recently. That's why I'm in so many layers and have found this like mountaineering coat and often wear like really thick fur-lined boots recently and my gloves and whatnot because it's so cold. And being cold is just sort of unpleasant and might affect your cadence to some degree. So that's why I would look so different on camera. If you saw me in ideal conditions having a real conversation in real life, and you were someone I knew, and there weren't all those other extraneous constraints and factors that are imposed by the format and whatnot, I would actually be perfectly normal. Even though speaking extendedly, speaking for extended periods, or speaking contemporaneously, or from a script, or publicly doesn't come to me naturally, but it's something that I've just like forced myself to do a lot for political organizing related reasons. You need to talk to people, you need to talk to people you don't know, and you need to um, be able to sound authoritative and confident on whatever topic you're talking about. Um, so that's something I've sort of over many years at this point just sort of essentially forced myself to do, knowing that I would need to do it for community and organizing activism and whatnot, and meeting people through that, and conveying information through that. So doing YouTube videos, and um, you know, like when I started out aiming for like finding the time to do one script filmed to camera a week, that was sort of learning that same sort of skill for the camera, the medium of being on camera. So maybe like 8, 9, 10 years ago in real life, I would have been weird. But then I powered through and became confident enough to speak whenever, wherever, on whatever topic I need to talk about in real life to people who I may or may not know. But I'm continuously in the extended process of learning that for the online medium. So I'm not really strange. Thank you for asking though. I hope that answered your question. Next commenter says, you'd think someone like you would be disliked here by every known metric, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Obviously, I can only speak for myself, but the vibe I'm getting is people appreciate how you're inarguably and authentically you. I think in general, thank you for that. I'm surprised by how seemingly authentic a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork to be. I thought it was returning to the thing I said about Sneed earlier. No one here's the point. No one actually likes. No one super likes the Sneed episode, series 11, episode 5 or whatever it is. That's the farming one. It's not when Simpsons went like super bad, but it's past the peak. No one like super likes that episode, and no one really super likes that gag. But everyone doing the Sneed gag repeatedly, because it's a 4chan meme or it's a dog whistle or whatever. They're saying they like it, but they don't really like it. If they're being honest with themselves, they'd know it's a dumb gag, and they certainly don't care about it, especially not to the extent that they think it's something they should comment constantly. But by performing, they perform the process of liking it. So when I saw this page, this thread talking about me, before I made that last video and before I made the comment saying I'm going to check this place out, I thought that was sort of similar to what I thought that was a similar sort of relation, the Sneed people to the Sneed gag. I thought that was the same relation between these KiwiFarms people and me or my content was they're just sort of pretending to like it in a sort of performative, ironic sort of way. But as far as I can tell, maybe that's not the case, or not the case in a lot of instances. I think people, regardless of politics or anything else, I think people can sense authenticity and sincerity and consistency and honesty. I think they would prefer all those qualities in someone they otherwise disagree with. I think a lot of people will prefer that over a grifter who does, or at least does superficially, line up or repeat what they like to hear politically. Now, obviously, there are a lot of successful grifters, which would indicate that evidently plenty of people can be taken in by grifters and grifting. But I guess if you're cognizant of the concept of people being grifters, then you'd be at least a bit savvy to that, and you would essentially be forewarned and know not to be taken in by that, so you would appreciate maybe like sincerity. And I guess through seeing, I'm always sincere and consistent and honest and whatnot, and I guess with enough exposure to me, just incidentally or randomly or through someone like Joshua Moon viewing my stuff on his weekly or fortnightly show, then you would see enough of me to realize that actually I am those qualities, and maybe that's where the interest is coming from. That's a little bit speculation, but I think um, I think people like those qualities, and I for one, I for one certainly appreciate all those qualities, and would always much rather um, discuss or talk to or talk about or think about the implications of someone who is speaking with those qualities rather than someone who is superficially repeating things I might otherwise find agreeable every time. And um, I would um, I don't really like to debate or argue or get into drawn out discussions that are just going to reach political loggerheads normally, but I would sooner have a debate or a discussion or whatnot with a sincere reactionary or a conservative or someone who leans in that direction, who is uh, sincere or principled, as much as I would probably find them disagreeable and very out of line with my own morals. I'd rather have that conversation um, with just like a random non-content creator, non-online personality type, non-grifter than I would have the most superficially agreeable conversation with any lib lefty online streamer type. Um, so maybe the feeling is just sort of mutual in the obvious way there with everyone on KiwiFarms. Um, Next person commenting says, my take on Jason Thor Hall was well done. Thank you. Next commenter says, hi Card, welcome to the forum. Big fan of your Some New Words series plus your general presentation style. Thank you. Some New Words is my favorite thing I've made. Maybe the videos themselves aren't necessarily the strongest or most captivating, but I'm very happy with the project in general. I think the way I've done it on my website is really good, and without a doubt, it's like I don't have any plans to do more videos on them or put more of them on my website. I don't have any immediate plans to do that, but it's a thing that I aspire to do the most that I don't have plans for, if that makes sense. I definitely want to come back to that at some point. That's without a doubt, essentially. Um, but I haven't explicitly planned it out. But I could do it. I've when I originally did the Some New Words mock-up concept book, I included in it like 100 words, which I pulled out of a pool of close to 200. It was actually a pool of about 170 finished and about 200 words total if you included some that were just sort of notes and fragmentary notes that weren't fully scripted and written and planned out, but there were at least like 170 words that were ready to go. And I cut that down to 100 that I felt were all good and all of the highest standard and were all sort of varied in origin and description. And then when I put them on the website, when I put them most recently on my website, and when I did the videos, I think I chose, it was like 20 or 24 or 28. So there's a lot more I could do very easily and readily, which I'd love to do. And putting them on the website came quite a bit before I did the videos, but I put them on the website in anticipation of doing the videos. So maybe after I'm finished working on the programming thing that I'm doing now, which I'll loop back to discussing at the end of this stream, maybe after that my next non-video computer project I'll do will be putting more Some New Words on the website, and then that can presage doing videos on them in the future. But thank you for being a fan of that. I'm a big fan of those two. That's my favorite series, you could say, that I've done. And thank you for saying you're a fan of my presentation style. Thank you. Obviously, I like my presentation style, or I think it's a good way of doing it, because there's something of an adage in like historical research where I work, which I could paraphrase to fit the topic at hand. But essentially every YouTube video implicit or has an explicit message and an implicit message. The explicit message being whatever the topic of the video itself actually is, and then the implicit message being that the video, like that format of video itself, is the correct way of conveying that topic. And that's a sort of an adage you get in a lot of historical writing, that every sort of historical document both expresses the idea that it overtly discusses and is an implicit manual as to how the author thinks it is appropriate and best to write a work of history. That same commenter continues on. As a long-time progressive organizer and activist, what's your opinion on the role that the forum plays in facilitating the discussion of drama within far-right circles, sometimes to the point of penetrating echo chambers and apolitically undermining the platforms of certain groups' figureheads, such as what occurred with Nick Fuentes and America First? I feel like this is a good comment, and something I'll probably want to return to. I don't know explicitly what happened concerning KiwiFarms with Nick Fuentes and America First. Let's assume KiwiFarms is hypothetically all reactionaries, all far-right, all alt-right, all Nazis, etc. The fact that a drama forum could facilitate infighting amongst such people, and therefore undermining their interests or wasting their time, or turning them against one another and incentivizing them to attack each other's preferred personality. That's an interesting take. That's something I'd like to look at a bit more in the future. So I can't answer that now, but that's something I'd like to think about in the future. Thank you. Next commenter says, if this really is card posting, tell us more about Noel's hyper-specific knowledge towards MLP and why he is in fact wrong about Applejack being the best pony. I don't think I have much more to offer except the Josh Moon My Little Pony expose video and the follow-up where I think his timeline is off and is skew-if there. If I had to give an out-of-character, sincere evaluation of whether or not Josh Moon likes My Little Pony, I think he's not okay, here's my speculation, but I feel it's grounded in decent analysis. Tell me what you think. I think he isn't for real, like one of those adult mega fans of the show, but I think he must have seen it. I think he is self-aware, that we can take for sure. He's self-aware enough to know that if he admitted to even just viewing it as I believe he has, then he would be scorned and made fun of. He isn't a big fan, but I think he knows more than he might otherwise let on. I think he has fudged the timeline to obfuscate how he knows what he knows. That's about my take. You can decide for yourself whether or not he needs to be clowned on for any of that. But I don't really think he's a closeted mega pony fan, but I think he does know more than he would otherwise publicly admit to. That's my take. Next commenter says, the goat has arrived. Thank you. Next commenter says, next commenter just says a hypothetical about whether or not I would sing along accurately to at a rap show. This is very hypothetical, and I'm not immersed enough in the specifically American urban rap scene enough to know what is and is not gauche or a faux pas. I think if you're obviously visibly white, and presumably a black singer has invited you on stage to sing a song you presumably know would have a racial slur in it, then surely they think it's fine. And I think if you're invited, it's fine. That's my take. I don't know if that would be a big faux pas or not, but I think it'd be fine. Next commenter says, that's not even on topic of the video of me, is it? No, it's, oh, I suppose it's aimed at me. Next commenter says, dude, it's just a forum. Well, I will find out for myself firsthand, I guess. Next commenter says, I know little about you besides explaining dog whistles, but you explaining Sneed in a serious tone makes me genuinely laugh. That's my only contribution. I don't even see why that video is funny. People keep telling me that video is funny. I don't think the video is funny. It's just me explaining the gag. I'm thinking back to it now. I just literally, I do the intro. I say who I am. I say what my bona fides are. I say what a dog whistle is. I say this is a 4chan meme. That's all it is. It's an obscure episode of The Simpsons. That's it. There's nothing funny in there. I just explained the meme. I think I showed a frame or two from the scene that you might have seen edited. So I'm like, yeah, if you see people just posting this screenshot of The Simpsons, this is what it means. Here's the most common copy pasta. Here's if you see that or some iteration on it, it's just the Sneed joke. It's not funny. I don't know why people think it's funny. I don't know why people think the joke itself is funny or my coverage of it is funny. You tell me. You tell me why you think the video is funny. Next commenter says, hi, will you be honest in your coverage of the forum, or will we once again be painted as the heckin' trans genociderino website that literally murdered trans people by saying mean things on the internet on a website they didn't have to visit? Will you reveal our biggest secret, that we're just a place that laughs at eccentric people and you can use slurs here? I'll keep my yeah, I won't say anything about anything that I don't think isn't true and honest. So I wouldn't I'll just let the facts I observe, in my opinion, speak for themselves, I guess. Next commenter says, hello, I got a true blue Kiwi question for you that will determine your place on the farms. Do you like Dragon Ball? And what's my thoughts on something in particular, if I'm familiar with the series? I don't like Dragon Ball, which isn't to say I dislike it. I just have never seen it. I've never seen any of it. I've never seen any of the show or presumably the comics it's based off of. I don't really know all that much. I couldn't really tell you like the second thing about it. Thank you for asking. I have no opinion to offer. Couple more comments down. Hello. I would like to inquire as to whether or not there is anything particularly interesting on your ceiling. I don't have a ceiling. I just have like rafters and a roof, so there is no ceiling. I hope that answers your question. Is that interesting? Is that unusual? I think most people might have some sort of ceiling. I think you can kind of see in the camera there. You can kind of see the start of some of that corrugated sheet steel roof there, but and you can see that there's rafters, I think, attached to some of the rafters, which you can see just above where my finger is on the camera, I think. There's a bunch of you take big glass coffee jars, big glass coffee jars like this, but with a lid, and then you put a long timber screw up through the bottom of the lid, so that attached to the rafters are a bunch of threaded lids, and then you keep stuff in the jars, and then you attach these to the rafters by screwing them into the lids that are now screwed onto the rafters. That always works. I've been doing that forever. I recommend that. I think that's a great way to maximize your space. I've been doing that for a long while. And you know, I keep a lot of jars. Get jars off people. Give jars to people. You know, people at, you know, your local community like farmers market, they'll make a lot of like honey and preserves and pickles and puddings and stuff. You know, they'll often give you some of that if you give them a bunch of jars. You know, sometimes people will themselves have jars empty. They give you, and you can make stuff with them, or help people put those sorts of jars up in the rafters of their own home. You know, there's a lot of stuff you can do with jars. There's you know, glassware is keeps potentially forever. Wipes, like, no matter what you put in it, no matter what you spill on it, you can basically always wipe it clean. In general, if I had chemicals, like if I had like paint stripper or glyphosate or something in a jar, I wouldn't like reuse that jar. I wouldn't like put anything important in there afterwards, even if I rinsed it out. Or I probably wouldn't I wouldn't even like use more chemicals or something. But so I'd probably get rid of like a jar if it had like serious chemicals in it. I wouldn't reuse it. Or you know, if you have to dispose of something, like if you're draining oil or something, you know, a good solution is you know, if you put it in a jar and then you get rid of it. You know, today I was getting rid of some old batteries. The type I was checking a bunch of those old, not those old electronics, but some other old electronics I happened to like run into and try and figure out what to do with. I was just checking the batteries and whatnot on them. And I had a whole bunch of the you know, the small rectangular prism type with the two nodules coming out the top that some people put on their tongue and feel the shock from. I had a whole bunch of them. Some of them looked like they were slightly dubious physicality. You know, I thought maybe the case was a little compromised, so you know, I'd hate to, you know, put those with my garbage. You know, awaiting my next opportunity to get rid of my garbage, or put them down on anything flammable, and then like the lithium or acid or whatever in there leaks out and starts a fire. So what I did is preemptively put all those potentially compromised batteries, put them in a jar, so they wouldn't potentially leak in something until I dispose of them. That's you know, one thing you can use jars for. Yeah, I've got plenty of jars, just like around. It's always good to have jars. Yeah, we've got lots from down there. There's stuff to do. You always need jars, so keep jars. What did you ask that got me talking about this? I don't know how we got there, but let's look for the next comment of note and keep moving along. Someone here is recommending a Gene Wolfe book. That's interesting. Not really related to me. Someone says also, please start a book club series on your channel. I'm not super interested in doing a proper book club series about all sorts of books, but there's a series which I've done like 2 or maybe 3 episodes of by now. That's on my channel called Lit Club. That's talking about the 4chan board lit, and specifically I've been looking at one piece of literature each episode or each installment that has come directly out of image boards, and I'm hoping to use that not as a review of the books themselves, but as a way to discuss image board literary culture and try and facilitate the discussion of the books between in the comments between people who have read them rather than review themselves. I have no immediate plans for a book review series, and I don't think people would necessarily be particularly interested in it. And because it would probably, you know, require reading a book in full, like a big serious book in full, at least once, and probably taking notes and then scripting it. The turnaround, like even if I committed myself right now to only doing serious book club style discussions or reviews of serious books, um, if I committed all my free time to doing that and took it as seriously as I could possibly take it, the turnaround on it just wouldn't be there. Um, Especially without you know, since I do this just as a hobby and there's not even any like financial incentive, it just would realistically not happen anytime soon, and I don't have aspirations for it to happen. Um, that being said, the next comment says, I humbly suggest Shaman of the Radical Right, biography of Jonathan Bowden, far-right British activist, for any potential book club reviews. It's a really interesting read. I haven't heard of that one. Haven't heard of it, haven't read it. Not sure if I've heard of the guy. I've currently got a idea of where to take the image board literature series. I know what sort of books and what titles and whatnot I want to do on there, so I don't have any plans to add to that, but I'll take note of the name there and I'll look it up and see if it's relevant later. Next comment says, I'm sorry I said you look subhuman, please forgive me. Seriously though, I do enjoy your content. Alright, you're forgiven. Just don't do it again, I guess. Next commenter says, welcome to the farms, don't accept DM invitations from anyone ever. Alright, I guess I won't. Thanks for the advice. Next commenter says, welcome to the farms. I think the number one thing you should know about our website is that everyone here absolutely loves anime, and nobody loves it more than our site owner Josh. Recommending him anime is a must if you want him to warm up to you. I'm not really big into anime. I've seen like 2, I guess. At some point, I guess when I was a teenager or young adult, I saw Neon Genesis Evangelion, because everyone said it was good, and I wanted to see what the hype was about. And a few years back now, probably at some point in university, I got added to a big like pirated media server that had JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on it, and I heard people had been talking about that, so I started watching it, see what that was about, and I enjoyed that, and I've kept up with that since when new ones of that come out. But I have no, and I've done a couple of videos on it on this YouTube page, I think. Yeah, I have. I might even do more in the future. But apart from that, I've had no no interest in anime and no particular interest to seek it out as a genre or seek out any more in particular. In general, I don't seek out a lot of like media to watch, even like of anything, like TVs, movies, anything. I just don't really seek it out much at this point anymore. Like a lot of people my age, if I want to watch something, statistically, I'm most likely to look for something online, just on like YouTube, even though I know how to, pirate anything at all I want, and I live in a period in time where, like, most digital media that has ever been made is potentially mine within the hour if I want it. But I guess I just don't want it. Next commenter says, hello, sir. Although the forum is full of mega racists, I am a minor racist, but isn't everyone? This commenter says, I think I will find it is not very nefarious at all. In fact, many people preach about self-improvement. The general theme is not acting like a fool and laughing at fools. Many users might express seeing aspects of the lol cows in themselves and feel motivated by observing what not to do. And then they recommend some threads I guess they're a fan of. Um, there's that theory that I think people on like a breadtubey type YouTube have been parroting for years. It's probably not original to the space, or I don't know who it came from if it is, but someone's been spreading for a while the idea that like lol cow culture or cringe culture is people externalizing fear of being critiqued for their own behavior or being critiqued for behavior they could potentially do. Um, so I see people speculate that like the lol cows you may be interested in or the cringe culture content you might watch um, aren't, as you might think, intuitively or instinctively, the people opposite to you um, in regards to like political or social interests, political, social media, or cultural interests. It's actually people who share the same sort of spaces with you, um, and you sort of do it as like a self-reflective thing, I guess. I don't know if there's any merit to that. Um, I can see the argument for it. I can see there an argument being against that, saying that's really broad and waffly and confirmation biasy. Um, and I don't believe in psychology, like I just said. I could see it really going either way on that. Thank you for the comment with the offering your opinion there, I guess. Although I also don't put too much stock in some place being good just because people there preach self-improvement. I think preaching self-improvement generally is more often than not done by people who are all talk, no do. Um, uh, Next commenter says, the king is here. Card, you should play the KiwiFarms Doom mod since the fat fuck refuses to. Is the fat fuck in question Joshua Moon? Is there a KiwiFarms Doom mod? What kind of Doom mod? Like a total conversion or just like a map pack or um if I had like a popular website and people were making Doom mods or Doom wads about it, I would definitely play them. I might play the KiwiFarms Doom mod if to see what it is because I like Doom and I like all them old 90s shooters and a lot of the recent shooters inspired by them. I like Doom, I like Wolf 3D, I like Duke 3D, I like Quake, I like Rise of the Triad. Um, Not a huge fan of Half-Life. I guess I prefer the gameplay aspects to the story-driven stuff. I've just finished the story on Postal Brain Damaged, and that was really enjoyable. Um, I should do a video on it at some point, maybe. Feel like if I get a video out of my like 13-ish hours of play, it's even better. But yeah, no, I like old 90 shooters. I'll look into what this KiwiFarms Doom mod is. Next commenter says, welcome. It's mostly just a place where people archive stuff and talk about it without censorship. Some people delete content for their own selfish purposes or it gets taken down by higher ups all the time. A place like this ensures the content stays available for future people to enjoy. I feel like you might be slightly I would agree, broadly speaking, that it's good to have a place to archive stuff, or a place, at the very least, a place to host stuff that would get taken down other websites, like off YouTube. I don't think I would necessarily agree with the idea that people take their own stuff down. Therefore, it needs to be had somewhere. As much as I like media piracy, when it, I broadly speaking, if we're talking like hypothetical utopian ideals, I like the idea of there being like a website or a torrent repository somewhere of all the like corporate media, games, books, movies, TV shows, etc. I like the idea of that being available. But I think in general, if like people want to voluntarily remove themselves from the internet and just be completely private and offline, I think you shouldn't begrudge them that. Just let them have that. I would say in general, it's just a normal thing. A normal thing people, I feel, should be allowed to do, especially if they realize that they don't particularly care for the trend for like social media and social mediaization of their lives, which has been the norm for much of the time that anyone becoming an adult or who is currently a young adult has sort of grown up being exposed to and having treated as normal. If they realize they don't like that, I feel like people should have a right to sort of quietly disappear onto the internet. And if they're someone of note or a lol cow of some sort, it'd probably be for the best for them anyway, if they wanted to just quietly leave the internet and stop being weird online. So if people in that position had an avenue open to them where they could do that freely, and they didn't have to disregard that as a course of potential action because all their stuff would still be getting archived somewhere and people would still be talking about them anyway, I think they would be less incentivized to do that. So in general, I like the idea of a place to put content that wouldn't otherwise be hosted on somewhere like YouTube, somewhere that has less stringent rules than YouTube and more permanence than an image board like 4chan, for instance. But at the same time, I don't think I agree, broadly speaking, with the idea of there being just like a weird repository of people who otherwise wouldn't want it to happen. If you want to have a website with no rules about imposing copyright content related rules or rules about keeping your language clean and polite and all that, that you wanted to discuss contemporary content creators or something, that'd be fine with in principle. As much as I would disagree probably with a lot of the user base and what they'd want to say, what they would do with the privilege to say whatever they want, no censorship rules. I do agree with the idea that such a place can or could or should or ought to exist. But thank you for the prompting question. Next comment is our next comment is asking, do I happen to have an extra flyback transformer for either an iMac G3 or a late model Mitsubishi Diamondtron, or just a whole Diamondtron? You notice I'm a tube appreciator. Got any peculiarity? I don't think I have either of those. Got any peculiarities in your collection in the back? And then they just talk about they have a process to remove scratches and dings from screens and whatnot. I don't have anything of like super note. It's just like some Compaqs, some IBMs, some Commodores, a whole Commodore setup, like the keyboard and all the stuff that plugs in. There's a Commodore printer down there. A couple small TVs, couple big TVs. I've recently put some audio equipment up there. There's like some big tube stuff in there. That's a big tube. You probably can't see it, but there's some big old tubes for big like lighting display stuff, and there's other like lighting stuff that has never been in the background. There's a whole heap of other stuff I've got just packed up at the moment that I should get around to. I should do a video at some point talking about all the old electronics I have, but which I don't collect. I just happen to have and make use of and put somewhere. Basically, any time that I've done a video where I'm like fully illuminated, I do it with like this big old fluoro tube that has just been like right behind the camera the whole time. Have to figure out if that just affected the recording or the video quality, because when I turn that on, I think things stop working momentarily. But hopefully that didn't fuck up the recording or sync it or desync it or something like that. If it did, apologies, but that's just been on in front of me. That's another reason why the teleprompter notes is to my left and not directly in front of me, because I can barely see the camera when I'm filming most of the time, because that light is directly above it and is blindingly white, so I have to keep averting my eyes from looking directly into the camera. And if I do happen to incidentally be looking here, not only can I barely see the camera, I don't know I'm making eye contact exactly with the thing. But when I've been doing the, I think a couple times I've done live streams, and when I've been doing the counting series, because I didn't want to have that on just burning my eyes out for potentially hours at a time, what I've been doing is having one of the lamps that's back there on instead. But I decided earlier tonight when I was doing some counting that I would move one of the lamps that's over there and put it just here on my left and sort of point it that direction instead, so it's sort of enough to illuminate me directly, and I can see what I'm doing in front of me without blinding me, and hopefully the background is illuminated enough you can see. I did kind of make a mess of some of my stuff there while I was pulling the lamp out from back there, but it's alright. I'll neaten it up in the days to come and maybe rearrange all my screens and whatnot. Yeah, I'll do a video eventually talking about everything I've got electronics wise and lighting wise and whatnot. Next commenter is just posting the clip of me confirming that I'm here. Some next person asks, why do I look like Arthur Fleck from the Joker movie? I get why people make the comparison. It's because of the hair and how my hair usually is. I used to get a lot of Joker comparisons. Before that, in real life, I used to get a lot of Doctor Who comparisons when my hair was sort of relatively short, sort of medium length, and sort of sticky outy and curly. If you go back right to like my earliest videos, you'll see I have short hair. And that's because just before, like for like the year prior to me getting the idea to do a YouTube page, I'd just been having my hair like completely shaved. Like I would, do the whole zero, just complete egg mode, no hair thing. And then like the same week I decided to do YouTube, I thought, I would start like, the same week I started to do YouTube at all, I started to grow it back. And then by the time I was doing videos that aren't just audio only, where I'm actually on camera, by then it was like maybe an inch long or so. But if you go back and look at my earliest videos, you'll see the hair was a lot shorter. And also that profile pic that I use, that's the reason I've used that profile picture like the entire time on my YouTube page is that's like from, I believe, like the last time my hair was this long. So it might also be why I look slightly younger, or several years younger, if you think I look different in that. Even though it's the same red jumper that I'm wearing now, and wear a lot of the time. Um, it's actually like a really old photo. And when I started the YouTube page, I didn't look like that, but like a year and a half into doing YouTube, I ended up once again looking like my profile pic, which used to be me. Um, yeah, for a while there were Joker comparison comments. Eventually, sooner rather than later, there will be another pop culture figure that people make comparisons. Um, for a brief little while in real life, there I was getting comparisons to the lead, or at least my hair was getting comparisons to the lead in the Frank Herbert's Dune reboot. But I guess that didn't become enough of a zeitgeist, popular culture zeitgeist penetration enough for people to know or remember that guy or the movie. So people stopped making those comparisons after like a week. Um, Eventually there will be another pop culture figure that I compared to, and by that time people will have forgotten the most recent Joker, especially since I think the second of the most recent Joker movies people just didn't like. Um, so it'll happen eventually. It doesn't bother me. The comment itself doesn't bother me. The unoriginality bothers me. Next commenter says, here's my 2 cents. The most important things about the KiwiFarms that I can go here and just say what I want. A lot of those things are mean, nasty, and things that will get me tossed off or shadow banned off anywhere else. The only thing that would get me kicked off here is if I started talking about doing something to someone in real life, which would probably get me phone booked and tormented by my fellow users. You'll also notice that if you poke around the threads that are the most active are about bad people that display their bad actions on the internet. So if they stop doing bad things or stop putting those bad things on the internet, nobody talks about them. So you ask, can KiwiFarms ever be good? It already is, because it lets people talk about what they want. The only time it actively messes with someone is when they can't stop reading their thread because they're some NPD nut hob. Not my problem. As an aside, some of your older videos had skulls in the background. What's up with that? I will. Again, this like that other comment that was long. I think it's a bit of apologesis for KiwiFarms there. If it's bad people doing what they want, bad people doing bad things. In theory, that would maybe be fine. Again, with those carve-outs I said about, I think people should be able to leave the internet if they want to. The things I would want to look into, I would be concerned about, and I would want to sort of investigate. If I was investigating that, as I essentially want to, that's half my purpose of being on KiwiFarms. I'd want to sort of think, okay, what is the bad thing you think people are doing? Because it might be something I think is just like a completely fine and harmless and good even social phenomenon that you just disagree with because you have political views way outside of mine that I would find disagreeable. Or the other thing I'd be concerned about is it someone doing something bad or someone who has done something bad? Is there a difference of consideration? I'd want to sort of look at sort of how contemporary events you're describing and to what extent you're talking about or cataloging someone's actions, how long that persists, or on what sort of basis, or how much, how like accurate are you being? Because if you, let's say hypothetically you had a website that was, you were only discussing or cataloging people that I think would be 100% unambiguously, completely socially fine to do that to, and you were only going after, appropriate targets, in theory, that'd be fine, but like, how good is your accuracy? Because if you're only going after good targets, but you're accidentally getting all your facts wrong, and thereby, I don't know, potentially going after or having like collateral damage, innocent people get hit, so to speak, like, what's the processes look like? I would want to look into that myself. which I will, and that's what I'm here for. The second part of that comment, as an aside, some of your older videos had skulls in the background. What's up with that? I really like natural history stuff. That's something I would say I do collect. And I got a lot of jars of like preserved wet specimens. I've got preserved dry specimens. I've got minerals. I've got plants. I've got bones. I've got all sorts of animal bodily parts, a lot of which I will collect myself from stuff I find. If it's animal-wise, it's mostly stuff I find deceased. If they're rocks and minerals and whatnot, it's mostly stuff I've been given or traded for, because I think there is a certain amount of ethical consideration you have to have for getting rocks and whatnot out of the environment. Around the local area, there'd potentially be a lot of stuff. There's a lot of interesting stuff in the ground, but one, you should take care of your own safety, especially if you're out on your own. B, you shouldn't just rapaciously take stuff out of the ground, take stuff out of the ground for yourself willy-nilly anyway. C, if you feel like there is an appropriate amount of stuff to take, you should be careful how you're doing it so you don't cause an immediate, dangerous situation for yourself, like if you're in even a relatively small sort of craggy type area, and you pull something out of a naturally occurring sort of wall relative to where you are, and then the whole thing collapses, or you inadvertently pull out while you're pulling out a rock, you pull out a bunch of roots that it's connected to, which uproots a big decades old grass runner that was actually holding together a whole big old load of soil or loam or something together, and then the whole thing falls down on you. And also, you shouldn't just remove stuff willy-nilly. Even if it's not a personal safety hazard, taking stuff like that out can have surprisingly quick effects on erosion, which can make a place dangerous and can just erode stuff. You should be very careful with taking stuff out of the ground. I could do a video about my interest in natural history type stuff sometime. I've got a lot of stuff immediately to my left, as it so happens at the moment. But the human-looking skull, that's a craft. That is not a real skull. That is just a something I put together, which I think I talked about on my second live stream. But that used to sit down there somewhere, but that's no longer there. Another skull, which is immediately within my grasp at the moment. This nice goat skull. Something like if you see livestock, livestock, sometimes you see them just in the woods. Sometimes you see them livestock remains in common public land. Sometimes if you can get permission to go on someone's land, you can ask them, hey, can I have any old bones of animals, and that people will usually say, yeah, you can take whatever you want. Maybe if you just find an abnormally large amount of dead cows or something, just let me know, and just so long as you take care to promise you'll be careful walking around potentially uneven ground, and just know how to shut gates and be respectful of people. And if someone says no, not that ever happens realistically, but hypothetically, if someone said no, you just respect that, and don't go on their land or take their stuff if they say no. And if they say yes and you want to get into that, just be careful. I usually take gloves. I usually have some sort of mask on. I used to wear just a basic face covering just to keep flies out of my mouth, or any sort of bug. And I'd wear sunglasses and some sort of wide-brimmed hat just for sun protection. But I usually would take at least one pair of rubber gloves, probably two realistically, a couple of plastic bags, some jars, maybe a thicker leather or leatherette type glove as well. Make sure you have a phone, and have service to contact someone, just in case you're walking around in the woods for a day or more. potentially. I'll make sure someone like knows where you are, and like if I'm not like back by, let's say tomorrow, you know, you like come like just tell like someone, you know, hey, like I'm going out to walk around in the woods tonight. Would you mind coming to my house and like knocking on the door at like 9 tomorrow morning just to make sure I'm there? If I'm not there, try and call me, and then you know we'll see if we need to start putting the search party together. Like do that if you're going out like overnight. But like I've got a lot of stuff because I've lived in a lot of different places, and I have an ethical code I've put together for how to collect stuff from different environments. Like if you're in the and there's also like hypothetically were you to find like here in Australia were you to find some sort of like indigenous petroglyph or artifact or tool or something, there's a proper powers that be to report that to and a process to go through that I'd recommend you do. And there's a whole, I could do a whole video on this. There's like a, you know, if you're going to preserve stuff in any sort of solution, depending on what it is, be careful handling that. If you want to get into taxidermy, be careful with some of the stuff that's involved in that. Certainly be careful with some of the animals you can pick up. Like there's a lot of, you know, here in Australia, there's a lot of venomous stuff, there's a lot of toxic stuff, there's poisonous stuff, there's stuff with spines and bites and whatnot that can hurt you. Be careful with that. Never take anything you don't explicitly know what it is, I would recommend. Don't get greedy and take a whole heap of stuff. Be very careful. I reckon if you're taking like livestock bones, something simple, or like kangaroo bones or bird bones, snake bones, etc., I'd recommend only taking stuff that is completely devoid of flesh and has like completely sun bleached out. There's no goo on the corpse. There's no mold growing in the middle of the bones, whatnot. You know, stuff that is completely old and dry and sun bleached. Be careful what you're digging around in. Always be careful. Yeah, like I've just taken a look at some of the specimens and stuff that happens to be immediately on my left at the moment. Like this is another reason you keep your jars and so on. This is you know one of the things I traded for at some point. You know, I like to trade, especially when it's like older vintage stuff that you know was sourced and hasn't just been killed recently. This is like a big old squid. I really like this one. I got a lot of nautical stuff. I should relabel this because a lot of the labels are so old they've all sort of degraded. But that's a nice preserved squid there. I like that one. You know, some of these I did myself, some of these other people that I know have done. Some of these have been done by people I don't know, but they've made their way back to me. Like this is a little furry fella, like little possum or something. Yeah, you know, he's in there, still got all his fur. It's been preserved very well, just entire possum in a jar type thing. You know, got a lot like these, got a lot of furry wet specimens, got a lot of embryos. You know, it just really interests me. You know, I've got a whole bunch of this. You find a lot. I do this myself. You know, a lot of just like long snake skins, mainly just like tree pythons. Snakes around here, usually relatively harmless, but if you see like a tree, if you take a look closely, you might see like stuff dangling down. A lot of that will be like eucalyptus bark. But some of that, if you look real close, it'll actually be like an old dried out snakeskin. You know, I'm really interested in a lot of that. You know, I've got a lot of rocks and minerals and whatnot. Just to the left of me right now, there happens to be this big old chunk of petrified wood. Got a lot of petrified wood. Got a lot of stuff like that. This is the sort of thing I'm talking about. you know, be careful if you're pulling chunks out of the ground. Like this is the sort of stuff they have around here. You know, it's a big old chunk of rock, but it's got a lot of little crystalline structures growing out of it. This is the sort of thing you'd see maybe 3 to 6 foot underground, or you might see if you see any sort of like natural cracks in the dirt or any sort of like cliff face, you might see something like this jutting out. Or if you happen to see like a exposed cliff face with a sort of a large lump and you can only see like this side, you can probably intuit, probably pretty good guess that, you know, on the other side, on like the inner facing side of that, there'll be something neat and probably crystalline or interestingly mineral growing out the back of that. So as a general rule of thumb, you can, you know, if you're in a safe spot to do so and you have permission to do so and you feel it's safe to do so and you feel it's ethical to do so, you can pull that out. Just be, you know, be careful. That's the sort of thing that might have a lot of plants attached to it, and that might destabilize what you're looking at. So that sort of thing, you know, it's real interesting. People like that. You take this to your community art fair, and hippie types will often buy one of those for good money if you are interested in selling stuff like that. Or you can trade it with other enthusiasts, or you can just keep it for yourself if you like that sort of stuff. If you're interested in like snakes, people love like wet specimen snakes. You know, there's so many of these going around. You can probably find tutorials for how to do this on YouTube easily these days. Oh, but it's just, you know, if you like use like a rabbit embryos, you know, if you have any like small animals yourself, and you end up with you know, failed births or anything like that, or if the animals you raise just happen to die, you can always preserve them however you want. You can look into that. That's a fun hobby. I like it. I don't think it's morbid. But as you know, everyone's got to have a hobby. I like it, and a lot of that is around here. So I don't collect old computers. I collect animal bodies and minerals and skulls and feathers. Always be very careful with your local rules and ordinances about collecting feathers also. Never collect anything you don't explicitly know the legal status of owning. Always look up local hunting and fishing laws. You know, this is an interesting thing and it's fine and it's ethical if done properly, but you should always know the proper way to do it. Yeah, no, I have a lot of stuff like that, and I'm very interested in it. I'll tell you what, I still got a little bit more of this to go, and we're currently just about to hit 1 hour 30. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, just like I did last live stream, I'm going to do something of an intermission, and then we'll come back here. I won't show off any more natural history stuff today, I don't think. Alright, I might show one more thing, because it's my favourite thing I think I have, and then I'll do an intermission. Yep, I found it. I wasn't 100% sure where it might be, but this is my favourite thing I got. This is, you can see that there's a whole little clutch of blue-ringed octopuses. Very careful. These are very, very, very toxic. You may or may not have heard of these. These are can cause paralysis and lack of breathing and death within seconds of touching them. So you should absolutely never just grab stuff out of coastal tide pools at the beach. You should never. I recommend not going in the water at the beach, especially not here in this country where there's just so many little dangers like this. But um, I'm a fan of these. You'd be very careful handling these. I would not recommend anyone. I would not recommend anyone try and bottle some of these themselves. I think even if you're experienced, that's dangerous. It is hypocritical of me to do it then, and it's hypocritical of me to show them off and say these are the coolest things I think I have. But I suppose not hypocritical, so I didn't jar these myself. These were sourced ethically, and these probably been in the jar maybe twice as long as I've been alive. But I have a friend who was a teacher at school I went to who does a lot of this stuff, and who basically the only teacher I've kept in touch with, even after they moved away from where I grew up. But they showed me this sort of stuff, and were the source of these. And I'll put these back away now, and I'll do a video eventually talking about all this stuff in a proper light, in every sense. But it's just something to keep in mind. Natural history, taxidermy, whatever the fancy word for jarred specimens is. I like that stuff. That's a big interest of mine. It's more accurate to say that's an interest of mine than the collecting the old computers is. So thank you for, I can't remember how we got to that. Someone asked me about skulls in the background. Yeah, no, I like, skulls are some of the more, the bigger stuff generally, depending on what animals they are. And there's some of the sort of bigger, easier, most recognizable stuff, and they don't really tessellate or stack somewhere too easily, unlike jars sometimes do. But yeah, no, it's something interesting to have. Alright, I'll go pop my stuff back away. And then I will do a short intermission here, which I suppose I'll probably cut out of the uploaded recording, but then we'll come back in, let's say, it's 2:05 a.m. local time for me now, so I'll come back at 2:10 a.m. So we'll give it 5 minutes, and I will catch you very, very shortly then. Thank you. Hold tight. All good then, okay. Should be back. Should be on time. Didn't take longer than I thought I would. Just clinking the wood there together to make sure, in case you were wondering, or in case you couldn't intuit, I just make sure the audio and the visuals stay properly in sync like they should. As much as I'm enjoying this and as much as I'm getting through it, A, I don't have all night to be on the computer, and B, it is getting kind of cold. It's getting colder out, so I will try and get through these a bit more expeditiously here, and then I'll make the and once I've finished this up, wrapped it up, I'll put the recording. I'll put the recording online as a video as soon as I can. But let's try and get through the rest of the comments that I'm responding to for the sake of this video or this stream. Next few comments, people are just mainly making jokes. Alright, next relevant comment. Someone says, most people genuinely like Card because of his sincerity and presentation style. His behavior is orthogonal to most politically active people online. So you get to see some interesting situations that would never have been set up by just having normal friends or enemies. I'd like to do a whole video at one point about what you think a political organizer might be, isn't what you see presented as like a political or politically coded entertainment figure online. I think most people online, I'll save this proper for a video, but I think most people online probably haven't encountered a political organizer online, so I wouldn't know what to expect. My attitude towards stuff and my pragmatic attitude and my willingness to engage with, like I said earlier, comments and questions and concerns from the right if they're sincere and whatnot, that is actually a very common attitude among among actual political organizers. In fact, if anything, I would be on the sort of end of the spectrum there of people less seeking a debate or an argument, and less willing even to openly try and tussle with those people or discuss stuff in a more less hostile way. But actual political organizers should not be confused with like debate bro type online commentators, or they shouldn't be confused with people, especially progressive people, expressing liberal or lefty or progressive views online, because like a like Twitter commenter or something like that is not a political organizer and is not indicative of what a political organizer's like the sort of media attitude towards someone like me. Because I'll do a whole video on that in general, but actual real world lefties, when you think political organizer, don't just think people with a political view, and don't just think people trying to get in front of a camera online or elsewhere. I'll make a whole video explaining this in detail, but yes, most politically active people online, or people expressing a political viewpoint online, or having political arguments online, aren't like me, and I'm not like them in several respects. But I'm actual political organizers are more often than not more like me, and not like other internet commentariat type people. Next comment says, "Welcome aboard, Card. I want you to know that your videos have brought a lot of enjoyment to me and some of my friends about us not really being your target demographic, and a lot of us here really appreciate you and what you do, even if we don't agree with you most of the time. Please enjoy your time here." Thank you. I don't have a whole heap to say in response to that. I hope if you're enjoying them, I still don't see why people find stuff like the Sneed explanation funny. That explanation is just made for the Twitter type political commentary that need a simple explainer. It shouldn't be a source of comedy to anyone, I would think. But if you enjoy the stuff that is sort of closer to being intentional comedy, I suppose that's good. Not much else to say. Next commenter asks, "Are you here to take over the site? I didn't pledge my loyalty to Noel because of his brony pass, but I will pledge my loyalty to you. I saw that your anti-pirate software videos hit real high views, but your pro Ross Scott video didn't do 1/10 as well, which is very unfortunate. I really like Ross Scott, and I wish people would praise him as much as they shit on Jason Hall. Are you currently testing what works and what doesn't in the algorithm? Is reaching out to KiwiFarms another step of your search for engagement? I can't tell a clear theme in your videos as of lately. They're all over the place. Did you go, it's over 9,000 when you saw this?" Yes, my anti-Jason Hall videos did do really well, especially for me. I think the main one of those is currently over like 10,000 views now. And the one that's just simply like, here's why in like 4 minutes why I think Stop Killing Games is good. I think it got like 1,000 or 2,000 views, which is still like relatively high in like within a day. That's like really solid for me. But I guess really says something about our society that the negative view, just the shitting on someone who got like a factor of 10 times more views, it says something about society. Yeah, no, I don't do anything in the hopes of pleasing an algorithm. I just make what I want, or what I think would be a good idea, just for fun. I'm not particularly interested in engagement or algorithm or views for any sort of making a YouTube out of making a career out of YouTube or anything like that. I guess I've been a bit stuck in a whirlpool of getting the Stop Killing Games situation for about a week now, or maybe more by now, I think. But I guess the only overriding theme or consistent thing there that informs my videos is just what I want to make, and that's whatever crosses my mind, I guess. I don't think I said it's over 9,000 with reference to my current subscriber numbers, but feel free to make the cheap, easy meme if you want to. Next commenter says, this forum is a reminder of how the internet used to be, a place where you can share news, have a laugh, learn things, explore topics, and be yourself. If I ever got around to doing a video on KiwiFarms specifically and looking and exploring the argument or the angle that it's a throwback to older style internet forums, I don't necessarily think that'd be the case, or I don't think it'd be the case that supposing a modern website still running and whatnot today would be like the old internet, just merely if it didn't have rules about like language or terms and slurs and whatever, and like no rules or prohibitions on language. I think I remember a lot of what are now like relatively old websites firsthand, and know enough about older websites that are before my time to have for me to have seen firsthand. But I think just as like a real quick sort of rejoinder or pushback to this, I did a video a little while back. I think Joshua Min watched it on stream, or watched some of it on stream. I did a video talking about the Something Awful forums, and one of the things I took away from that, a lot of people who have no personal, actual, first-hand experience with the Something Awful forums or the Something Awful website itself, which was distinct from the forums for quite a while there, and typically are regarded as being separate separate things in the minds of people who have first-hand experience with them. Something I talked about or touched on in that video is how we're not; those weren't bastions of like rulelessness or lawlessness. There are a lot of rules and impositions, and I mean the fact that there was like a registration fee for using most of the site and the features and whatnot should go to tell you one thing about how it's locked down in several respects. But there are a lot of rules. I think certain rules about prohibitions about talking about anime or something, or what inspired Christopher Poole to go and do 4chan, do a Western image board in the style of Eastern image boards, because there were prohibitions and whatever he wanted to talk about. But one of the things I touched on in that video is how, especially once the Something Awful forums got like increasingly popular and had increasingly large user bases, how the owner, Lotax, was more and more authoritative and authoritarian about imposing rules. Actually, it was not a ruleless place. It had a lot of rules, and he was very happy to ban people if they criticized him or criticized him doing the ads. I remember the one thing that a commenter on that video pointed out at the time. Someone messaged me on email, or emailed me, or left a comment on the video. Something I thought was funny is all this time I've been assuming mangosteen was just like some trade name or a derivative name for a mango product, but it turns out a mangosteen is like a separate type of fruit. It's like related. But this whole time I've never been like interested. I never actually like clicked through the ad to see what it was. I didn't actually know what the product was. I just assumed mangosteen was a proprietary name for some sort of mango juice. So that's what I've been assuming it was for many, many years at this point. But it turns out it's not mangoes. It's something similar but different, a different kind of fruit. So that was got to be fact checked on that video. Turns out mangosteen, not a mango. I thought it was funny. I like fact checked that. It seemed so improbable when someone like commented that, but I looked it up and was like, oh well, look at that. I guess I never bothered checking up on that to confirm. But yeah, no, you just see that and you think, oh, so it's like a mango product. Maybe that just speaks to how ineffective the ads were in several respects. That I had zero interest in finding out what it was, and in fact I assumed it was the wrong thing. Anyway, next comment. Someone says, howdy, if you're interested in making a good faith exploration on if the farms can be good, I strongly recommend you look into the Animal Control Board and learn about how the farms have been some of the most active players in unmasking people in animal torture communities. Specifically, look into the zoo sadists and monkey torture community. the farms has had real-world tangible success in identifying people in these abhorrent communities who've either supported or directly committed horrific acts against animals and children and have played a direct role in them being brought to justice. The farms has a lot of enemies in media, so this stuff doesn't get broadcast widely, but it's absolutely real, and the receipts are free for all who care to take the time to read them. Either long or short, enjoy your stay. That's interesting. I don't know about that yet. I suppose I will look into that. So I can't really comment. I can't really respond to that at the moment, but I'll look into it. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. And someone's posted looks like a Joker clip. Someone's done the Sneed copy pasta. Someone else has said, welcome, you've made our quiet thread quite active, please continue making videos. While I don't always agree with your opinions, a different perspective is still appreciated. Thank you for that. Someone else saying they're glad I'm here, basically saying they like KiwiFarms because of the language policy or lack thereof. Someone else doing a book recommendation for Hyperion Cantos by Dan Simmons and its follow-up. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for the words of welcome. Someone asked, what's your favorite kind of cheese? Didn't have someone else allude to cheese earlier for some reason? I thought I'd seen someone commenting something about cheese at some point. I'm not really a gourmand. I don't have deep opinions on what cheeses are good. You know, cheddar is a staple. You know, just don't. I'm not interested in like fancy cheeses. You know, you just have cheese. The best cheese is just something nice that someone at like your local farmers market has made from their like small dairy farm, like with a couple cows, and they've done it themselves. They've done the rennet, they've done the fermentation, they've made it however cheese gets made. I'm not I don't make cheese firsthand myself, but you know, there's people that do, from cow's milk or goat's milk. You know, the best cheese is something local and made with passion and forethought and effort, I guess. That's my answer. Someone says, the fact that I'm interested in seeing firsthand what KiwiFarms is like, they say, this tiny thing here already pits you above most people talking about the site. The easy way would just be to copy and paste whatever the consensus is. Thank you. I'm here for a good faith looking around at stuff. Next commenter says, my content is cozy. Thank you. Next person says, I think card posting will do fine here. He plans out his words before he says them often and has a well-reasoned delivery and argument usually. I find myself a fan because of his frank tone, even if he has a tendency to stare into the camera like Buffalo Bill. Lol. Thank you again. That's what I was saying earlier. I think people like sincerity and being reasonable and thinking out what you say before you say it. That goes a long way in general in life. Getting through these, yeah, it's starting to get kind of cold. Like I said, you know, I appreciate everyone, especially someone who said, anyone who said thanks and whatnot and welcome me, and so they appreciate my good faith interest in the site. So thank you. I'll just I gotta try and skip past a few of these. If you've commented something here in the time between me starting to read all these and by the time you see the stream or when you see the recording go up, my apologies that I couldn't get to anything you wrote after this stream happened, but thank you for all your kind words generally. You know, someone else here is commenting, go check out the non-lolcow boards while you're here. Or you can find a multitude of other places on the internet to discuss the topics. KiwiFarms is uncensored but still moderated into staying on topic nature, makes them one of the best places left for general discussion. Like, why shouldn't I be able to say whatever you want while discussing homegrown garlic and self-sufficiency? It's my right as a human being. It's an interesting angle to take. I would sort of if I had a sort of list of notes of things I wanted to look into on KiwiFarms, I would say I'd want to know what their sort of moderation policy is. Like, surely, as much as they might let you say like say any words or be mean or disrespectful or etc. However you want to call it, there must surely be some amount of moderation, I guess. I'm like interested. How does KiwiFarms how does the moderator system work? Is it known? Is it sort of openly known? Is it like 4chan, where there's like admins, then mods, then jannies, and it's like the jannies are on like a volunteer basis? Like what are the numbers? Is it known? Sometimes websites don't openly say what their system is. I'd be interested. Feel free to comment or comment in this thread or under my video when it's uploaded, or just let me know somehow. It's just something I'll hope to look into. Getting through these, someone's commenting, queue something up with me, the people want it. Sure, I'd be more than willing to talk to Joshua Moon about whatever. I think we can try and work out a discussion at some point. I'm not in a super big rush, and I'll have to find some time in my schedule to find that room, but yeah, I'll make it work if he's up for it. Someone else says, with a very small handful of exceptions, Australians who put on American accents are the worst. Carl Jobst, Sydney Watson, card posting, all of them can go DIAF. I don't think I don't affect an accent on purpose, and I don't think my voice sounds American. I don't think Carl Jobst sounds American. I can't recall him sounding that way. I don't know who Sydney Watson is, so I can't speak on that. But I don't think I have an American accent. It's just the way I speak. If anything, people tell me I have like a British or English accent, or I sound hoity-toity, but I'm not intentionally affecting anything. So I don't know what your problem is there. I think you're your opinion that the American accent is grating might be valid, but I think you're firing in the wrong direction there, buddy. Next commenter says, I'm going to be honest, I held my breath and didn't really join in the fun of welcoming you, scared you were going to be a Mr. Nubbly who played into it for attention, but then ultimately decided that you did not want it anymore and leave it altogether, but it seems you have a better grasp on what the purpose of this site is on your second post than most people who rage against the farms do in over a decade. Like I said, I'm not interested in doing something like this for attention. I just want to know. And my interest is sincere and good faith. But thank you, I guess. Next commenter is someone saying I don't do the American accent, basically agreeing, I guess, with what I just said. Next commenter after that says, do you have your script/teleprompter to the left of your camera when filming? I'm only curious because your eyes frequently dart to the left in your videos. I think I explained all that earlier tonight, although I did at one point do a YouTube community tabs post where I did a little joke where the joke is there is no script. It's just like a post-it note with an Apu Jasta on it, giving a thumbs up saying you're doing great, carry on. And then the other half of that joke that I didn't see anyone comment on anywhere yet is that it's like that's an old like 90s webcam in the picture, when that's like evidently, you can tell by like video quality and just like Occam's razor, that's not what I'm filming on, but it's like ostensibly what the setup is. I think that's a funny gag, but I didn't see anyone. I guess no one got it, or no one thought it was funny or worth commenting on. But I thought that was the more funny half of the joke, is actually not even like expressly addressing it, but just the fact that like I'm ostensibly filming on an old camera like that. I thought that was funny. More people just discussing, they think KiwiFarms is good because it has topics that aren't being discussed elsewhere, and allows different viewpoints and whatnot. Someone else mentions one of the best things about KiwiFarms is that its owner is staunchly anti-DMCA and actually enforces it properly instead of spinelessly caving at the first sign of trouble to shield dishonest scum like YouTube does. I'd have to look into what KiwiFarms' specific like copyright rules is, but I mean, I'm no big fan of copyright law. Um, if it can't be uh, if copyright style copyright infringement reporting and like targeted harassment reporting abuse, like if those things can't be abused here on KiwiFarms, that'd be good, I guess. I'm all for that. Love to see. Um, I guess you know, no one likes websites that are just take the corporate the pro corporate sort of we'd rather play it safe type route. You know, I'll have to look into it more, but if it'd be big if true. Uh, next comment. Next comment says, "Indeed, ain't it nice to have a website where information media can exist, even if Zuck and Larry, I guess Zuckerberg and Google guy, decide it can't. Imagine a world where corporations could just snap their fingers and effectively force the world to believe, or at least conform to whatever is in fashion." I mean, I basically just said, not particularly. Yeah, I like you know, just being able to put whatever you want on the internet. That's not always good or used to good ends, but more often than not, it's good to be able to have a space where you can do stuff that if it's, you know, if it's a reasonable, if there's no danger of anything that isn't a reasonable actual reason to take it down, if it's sort of more borderline, or if it's clearly within the margins of proper fair use and not a danger to anyone, it's good to have a spot where it can exist. Next relevant comment, I think I watched this earlier, I won't watch it again, but I watched it earlier when I was just skimming through to see how much stuff there is. Someone did a Soy Jack party meme song in like AI voice of me. Weird, bad. If anything, I take a little bit of hope from the fact it wasn't like AI voice isn't quite 100% realistic. It's not like whatever the equivalent of photorealistic for audio is. You know, it wouldn't fool someone in thinking it was really me, but the fact that it can do voices at all. I've been meaning for quite a while to do a video on what I think of AI and the potential for AI art and video, image, sound generators, because it breaks in some big ways from the general consensus that a lot of especially progressive people have on the topic of AI art itself. But I'm not a huge fan, and I'm not a huge fan of the way AI gets used, but I think it has potential. The way people are actually using it, I think, is not of much value. I'll do a proper video on it. I won't get too hung up on it right now. Other people saying welcome. Someone else says, "Your latest video made its way into my recommended videos, and before I played it, I wanted to see if you had a thread. The biggest shock you will have here, Card, is how easily you fit in with the rest of us. Remains to be seen, but people are welcoming me, so..." Next comment says, "We don't have a kill counter yet." I'll look into it. Someone here says, "Howdy, I made this thread because I disagree a lot with your politics and found your over-analysis and repetition to be silly. However, with enough watching, I believe in your sincerity. I hope you know what you're doing with this. I wish you all the best and all the success." Well, first of all, thank you for the well wishes there. Like I said, this is what I was saying earlier. I think people find sincerity, sincere sincerity. I think people like it. I think people respect it. I respect it in other people. I think that's a common human thing to respect. Simplicity and repetition in something like the Dog Whistles videos is necessary when they're for like an audience that needs the introduction and might be seeing any given Dog Whistles 101 that might be the first thing they've ever seen from me. Sure, if you like watch it as a series or try to like binge watch all 100+ episodes or installments of it, then sure, you'd find it repetitious, but that's not the intended mode of consumption of those anyway. So I mean, I think if you're making a video explaining a topic, you should be as simple as you think as it needs to be. So at the start, you introduce yourself, say why you're talking about this, explain it. I think simplicity is not bad. I think you should make a video assuming your viewers already know what it's going to be about. Otherwise, why would you make the video? All right, last bit of comments here. Then I'll start moving towards wrapping this stream up. Someone else gives an example of what they say is the most immediate example of the forums doing something good. They say KiwiFarms did something to I guess interrupt an underground baby monkeys torturing community. Someone brought that up earlier. Don't know what that's about. I'll have to look into it. If it turns out to be relevant, thank you for pointing me in that direction, I guess. Next commenter is just someone doing what seems to be a whole heap of in-jokes or memes I'm not going to get. Someone else is asking something about cheese. Alright, that's not particularly relevant. But here we've got a commenter saying, "Pleased to meet you. I hope you'll have a good time in our little corner of the internet. A fair warning, you may find our sense of humour to be a little crass, but neither the humour or the content are as bad as it is presented in places where we are disliked." And they suggest a whole bunch of, I guess, pages about conservatives and reactionaries, I guess. Thank you. I'll take a look and see. I'll see what those are like at some point. Someone else says this seems to be a rather comfy thread in the making. Someone else has posted the cover of a book at one point I did, which I think I might have talked about briefly in the third live stream I did. The one that's long because it's got the interview in it. That's an old re-upload of me talking about books. Before I did YouTube, it's a long story, and I've probably talked about it in a different live stream. But I did a book that I just did as like a self-published thing that was in some ways a precursor to doing video essays on YouTube, and the book was called Discourse on the Physicality of Human Consciousness in the Classical Tradition and Other Topics, and that was like a gag title, the gag being it's long, and there's a whole like in-jokey history about why that was, and that was basically like a book of like a dozen short semi-serious essays that are basically the spiritual precursors to my YouTube videos. A couple other people are asking me about why do I keep all those old monitors, keyboards, etc. I explained that earlier. Someone else asks, surely whatever town you live in has an e-waste disposal service. I can see keeping a CRT TV if you own old gaming consoles, and I understand keeping some older model mechanical keyboards if they're in good shape. It's a bit much. Blah, blah, blah. They just waffle on a bit about assuming none of my stuff has use, which is wrong. Where I live does not have readily have access to e-waste disposal. Also, I wouldn't, so that's wrong. I wouldn't, like for the reasons I outlined earlier, I wouldn't get rid of them. They say, do yourself a favor, fill your car with this junk and take it to your local e-waste disposal facility. Just imagine what crap would be released in the environment should your recording space burn or get flooded. No, I'm hanging on to them. And if my home burned down, what chemicals might be released into the air because of the old computers burning? That would be literally the least of my concerns at that point also. Because of course I would. what are you talking about? My most immediate concern would be finding a new immediate place to live. It's not even the most. Why in that situation would I care about the whatever's released? Should they burn down? No, but no, I basically addressed this earlier. No, I'm keeping them at least for the time being, and have no plans to get rid of them. That is just about it for the comments people have left in that thread as of the time of recording. People have basically said comments to much the same thing as has already been covered on the YouTube video itself, I think. Although one comment under the YouTube video is, Card should absolutely not be reading his KF thread. Nothing good ever comes from a person of interest reading his or her own thread. Well, I just read that one about me, and we had it filled a couple hours. No, it was a novel experience. I'm sure we had fun. If nothing else, I will wring some good out of it. Oh, I was going to. I had a whole heap of more comments that people were left on the. I'm gonna need to take quite a while to figure out how to use KiwiFarms before I try and browse it whatsoever. But there's like profile pages, and people have left GIFs on there, questions. It doesn't look like hugely much stuff. The one thing that's sticking out to me at the moment, there's a GIF. It's like one of those hairy caterpillars with a cat's face doctored onto it, or maybe it's just AI. And there's a caption that says "Hitler, I'm crawling." Never seen exactly that before. And then there's a conversation going on about this GIF on this profile page I didn't know about hitherto. Someone else has posted the same GIF, but with the caption now reads, "Hitler, I'm munching, and Hitler, I'm crawling," and they say, "I prefer this version. The 'and' adds to the comical effect." As much as it's weird you're having a serious conversation about this, I don't think the longer caption even makes it more funny. If anything, the humor in this is just in the fact it's abstract and weird, and I think merely saying "Hitler, I'm crawling" is funnier than it saying "Hitler, I'm munching, and Hitler, I'm crawling." That's too wordy. No, something like a gag like that relies on being random and abstract and weird. It works better when you get to the point quicker. And you have a little bit of the little creature eating and then moving around. I think has more motion to it. And the timing goes better. So I think the first one, I think the bigger caption doesn't add to the comical effect. For whoever was asking that. Hopefully that makes someone's day that I addressed that. Just a lot of other people mainly saying welcome. Okay, so that wraps up that section of the stream. A couple other things I just wanted to address. If you're someone who cares enough about me that you've stayed this long into it, or you're watching this long into it, future plans for the immediate future. Quick rundown. So I can wrap this up quicker. Still working on the Jason Thor Hall video. Working out exactly the angle I want to take on it. Do I want it to be just a history of his copyright and harassment, abuse of that system, or do I want it to be a more general critique, or do I want it to be several videos? Currently scoping out a collaboration with a bigger YouTuber who can help me put it together, who can help me essentially I help them make it with me. They can platform it, get it more exposure. It's someone with more experience editing and doing this sort of thing, who I trust in the competency to help, and who I believe would be a good fit to do this with. that's buzzing along. Don't worry about it. Like I said last video, I think it'll take a while to do, but it won't take now. I think it won't take as long as I thought it would previously, but it'll take a commensurate amount of time as the effort to go into it. I just got to figure out my angle. Another thing I thought would be like really funny is, do I like broaden the scope of that video or make it multiple videos? One of the things you could talk about is how Jason Thor Hall has been ostensibly making some sort of like Undertale knockoff for like 10 years now or something. And I thought the thing that I started mentioning in my live streams like maybe 4 or 5 streams back now is that I've been learning how to do that programming and stuff. And I mentioned, I think last stream or stream prior, that's going along. I thought it'd be like really, 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 really funny if the day that video came out, I like released some sort of game or program or something, and either put it as a download on my website or see if I can, I don't know what the process to get something on Steam is, but see if I can get it on like an actual distribution service or something. And then at some point you have a video where the critique is, Jason Thor Hall has been working on this for 10 years, and he supposedly got like decades of experience working at this major company or whatever. It's like, I didn't know the first thing about programming 90 days ago, and here's my finished, fun working project. I hope you enjoy it. Here it is for free. Like, I thought that'd just be like a great, just absolutely dunking on someone who claims to be experienced. Just like, oh well, I can't make anything that's hugely great, but something simple that works and is fun and is finished, that's actually done and out the door is, I would argue, still better. That's better results than something that isn't done and is never gonna happen. I thought that'd be funny. So I figured, should I potentially delay the video coming out for a while just so I can get that finished, because it'd be like a really funny gag. But I'll scope it out. I'll scope out my my options there. I'll see if I can get something ready. I have plans for that. Just don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Just let it be a nice, pleasant surprise when that video or whatever I do, in whatever form, with whoever, when that shows up. Just forget about it for now. Let it be a pleasant surprise for the near future, I think. In the meanwhile, so that I have more time to dedicate to doing that, I've been considering mainly just doing like uploading the video of my like nightly counting to get through the counting to 2 million thing. And I realized today that I've currently got 190 Dog Whistles 101s. If you go to my YouTube page, go to the playlist section, there's a Dog Whistles playlist, and it's got something like 191 or 192 videos in it, or 193 or something like that. And that's because some of those, that's not a Dog Whistles 101 playlist, that's just a Dog Whistles playlist or a How to Identify Dog Whistles playlist. And there's a couple of videos in there that I think were made prior to any Dog Whistles 101s, and that they're just like generic, like you should know how to identify dog whistles, that are included in the playlist. So I figured it out. I got like exactly 190 Dog Whistles 101s. I figured I might as well just find like 10 more that'd be valid, worthwhile topics to do, just so I get it up to that nice round, even 200, and then basically retire that series, at least for the time being, or think of a way to bring it back with better formatting, or think of something, just like get it up to 200 and then stop it for a bit. But I could do that in the immediate near future, because that'd be a relatively less effort thing to do. And just if I did that and then had those coming out like one a day for 10 days, that'd give me, I'd get all those done in like one afternoon at some point when I've got the time, and then that just give me like 10 days, to just 10 extra days where I can be working silently on other stuff in the background. I could like intersperse those with just uploads from the counting or something, but don't be surprised if you see a bunch more Dog Whistles come out in the near future. It might just me finishing up that series for the time being. We'll call the first 200 season 1 of Dog Whistles 101 or something like that. But that's all just buzzing along. That's about all I've got to say today. The other thing I wanted to mention, I made a post on my YouTube community post tab. One other thing, which I basically said in jest, as sort of like a cheeky subversive little gag, but they basically said, incidentally, do I have enough clout now that I can just ask for stuff and get it, and it works? And then I posted like a Steam wish list or something, and people, to my immense shock and immense gratitude, some people did figure out how to find me on Steam, which probably isn't that hard, but they added me, and a couple people gave me some stuff. Immense thanks to them. It's very nice of them. It's very sweet of them. I think they got me just some small little trinkets, some small, fairly inexpensive electronic toys. Essentially, that's what games are. But it's very nice of them. Thank you immensely for that. Curiously, they didn't even get me the stuff that was actually in the picture. They just got me like, here, can we interest you in these? And I said, oh, thank you, that's very nice. I'll accept those. It's very kind. And we had a little conversation. They asked me some questions, and I thanked them for that. I just want to mention it again here because I figure if they're big enough fans of mine to do that, they're probably watching right now. So thank you again for that. Very kind. I won't say names just in case you want to be anonymous, but thank you. That's about all. I'll start wrapping this up now. I will upload the recording of this. Hopefully the synced up all worked. Shouldn't have any problems. It's quite long, so it might be a while, but I'll probably start uploading the recording as soon as I'm done here. I'll just tap that again just to make sure it's synced up at this end of the stream as well, just to make sure. I'll upload the recording. Recently, the last like month or so, everything I've been uploading, I do a double the audio on it. I used to have everything default audio, however it sounded when I recorded it. Keeping in mind I probably spoke less confidently or more quietly when I started appearing on camera in YouTube videos, and then people kept complaining, so I raised the volume to like 1.3 times its original, then 1.4, 1.5, 1.6 times the original volume. For a while there I had it on 1.8 times volume, and people, and by the time I got it up to 1.8 times volume, the frequency of people complaining about it being too quiet went sharply down by that point. But now I've just been having it on 2 times loudness, and I think that's sated everyone in that regard, I feel. So I'll just do that. That's basically what I do. I'll take the recording. I'll take the recording of the stream. Probably won't. I'll just cut out the intermission. Then I'll probably downgrade it from like the default high definition, like 4K, to like the next one down. Just so it's like 10 gigabytes, not 30 gigabytes to upload. Something like that, whatever it is. And then I'll just put it up. That's basically all the process for that is. But if you're watching this live or after the fact, thank you for presumably watching so much to get to this point, especially on a topic that probably wouldn't be of interest to a lot of people or to a great many people or most people. I'm semi-stalling here because I felt like there was something else I wanted to say, but I can't remember what it was. I guess if it was important, it'd come to me. But anyway, I'll just wrap it up there. Thank you for that. I'll stream sometime again in the future, maybe. No immediate plans, but thank you. Goodbye for now, and have a lovely day.